Who wins the National Wrestling Championships next year? Let's stop stalling and start talking wrestling. What's going on, wrestling fans? My name is Josiah, and welcome to Fanco Wrestling. And on this channel, we talk all about wrestling news, tips, and lifestyle. And this week, we're talking about who is going to win the 2021 NCAA Wrestling Championships next year in St. Louis. I am so excited to talk about this, considering the fact that we didn't get a national championships this year. So looking at all these guys, looking from 125 all the way up to heavyweight, as well as the team, who is going to win? Well, first let's start off at 125 pounds, where we have arguably one of the best wrestlers in the entire country in Spencer Lee. And that, just getting off started, Spencer Lee's my pick at 125 pounds. Some of these were a little bit tougher than others, but 125 pounds was simply easy for me. Spencer Lee absolutely dominated this past season, and I don't think it's really a surprise to anybody that I expect him to win. Coming out of Iowa Hawkeyes, undefeated last season at 18-0. The senior he will be a senior. He is a two-timer up until this point. Will hopefully get his third national championship next year because he was essentially denied his fourth. Now, these are a couple of the other contenders in the field. Of course, you have Vito Arujau coming back out of Olympic redshirt year from Cornell. Patrick Glory, who was also undefeated this season at 24-0. Devin Schroeder, who Spencer Lee has beat this season, as well as Brandon Paetzel. And look, also the one thing I want to say is Spencer Lee has pretty much beat most of the competition in his weight class. He hasn't wrestled Vito yet, so I'm interested to see what happens if those two meet up. But he has beat Schroeder, and he has also beat Patrick Glory. Although it wasn't last season, it was in the past. And because of that, I think Spencer Lee is the pick here at 125 pounds. And now, look, you do have outside contenders too, but that's just my pick. Now, moving on to 133 pounds. What a packed field this always is. It's just the craziest weight pretty much every single year. That's what it has been pretty much every single year. But who's going to win next year? My pick is Dayton Fix. Dayton Fix, the sophomore, he will be a sophomore from Oklahoma State, coming out of his Olympic redshirt year. The previous season, in 2019, he made the national finals, losing only to Nick Suriano in the finals. He did have a loss earlier on in that season to Mickey Philippi, but in the finals, although he beat Nick Suriano beforehand in the season in the duel in a controversial match, he ended up losing to him in the national finals in what was another controversial match. Now, as far as the rest of the field, who do we have here? Nick Suriano, who is technically the reigning national champion at 133 pounds, and there are rumors going around because, like I said, it's way too early to make any of these predictions. There are rumors going around that Nick Suriano may not even return next year to college wrestling. We'll see what happens. I really hope that he does. We'll also have Sebastian Rivera, Roman Bravo Young, and Stefan Micic all coming back to the college scene next year. Some of them for their last season, such as Sebastian Rivera and Stefan Micic. Now, a couple of these guys are multiple-time All-Americans in Micic, as well as RBY placing 8th in his freshman year, as well as Sebastian Rivera being a 2-time All-American. We've seen these go all the way around. The reason I think Dayton Fix is able to get this is because he is so defensive. He's able to get get into those scoring positions, and he's just impressed me so much in just his freshman season. So I'm pumped to see how he does in the future. Moving on to 141. Is this any surprise here? Maybe to some of you, maybe it is, maybe not though. Yianni is your 141-pound NCAA champion in the 2021 NCAA Wrestling Championships. Just my prediction. He is already a two-timer. Is Yianni D. Was 29-0 in the season that he won it last, and he's coming out of his Olympic redshirt year now. Unfortunately, he didn't get to wrestle in the Olympics next year. Hopefully, next year he does. And that's the thing that's going to be interesting to see is which guys stay in for another Olympic redshirt year, which guys come out of their Olympic redshirt year and come back to the college scene. Now, this is one of the other packed weight classes. And yes, you have Yianni D at the top. He'll probably be the number one rank coming into next season, but you also have Nick Lee coming back. Now, unfortunately, you lose Luke Pletcher at 141 because that battle would have been so crazy to see Nick Lee and Pletcher in the NCAA finals. But you have Nick Lee coming back. You have Jaden Ironman coming from Missouri to Iowa, filling in for 141, either 141 or 149 between him and Max Murin, as well as Dom Demas and Real Woods. all in contention. I think this is one of the most stacked weights in my opinion. So you have Yianni, who has a win over Nick Lee in the past, but that was all the back in like 2018, so you can't really count that as much. It's got to count for something, but Nick Lee has improved so much from then. But of course, so is Yianni. The one thing about Jaden Ironman is he is Yanni's only collegiate loss. Yianni's 66-1 in his college career, and Jaden Ironman is the only one to give him that loss. So that's kind of something to look forward to. Now Yianni's beat him since then, but just an interesting fact. Now, Demas and Red are two other guys that, just have had impressive seasons. Real Woods will be a sophomore, had an impressive freshman season. Dom Demas had a great national tournament the year before. And then, of course, you have the rest of the stack competition. Chad Red, Cade Brock, Ian Parker, going to be stacked at 141 pounds. But what about 149? Who do we have to look forward to at 149 as your champion? My prediction is Sammy Sasso. I predicted him last year. I'm predicting him again this year. Sammy Sasso out of Ohio State. It was a national qualifier this year. Unfortunately, didn't get to wrestle because the tournament was canceled, but he was 24-3. Now, he avenged his losses that he had earlier on the season to Brayton Lee as well as to Brent Moore, who he was pinned by. And then he also has a win over Lugo, who he ended up losing to at the Big Ten Championships, where he finished in second place. Now, Lugo's not returning, but there are a couple of other guys who are returning. And those guys are Austin O'Connor, Brock Mahler, Bulawan, and Brayton Lee, as well as, this is another stacked weight. It was Jared Verclaren, Jarrett Deegan, Kanan Storr, Yaya Thomas, who I think could have another breakout year, and Keyshawn Clark. What a stacked weight. Now, Sammy Sasso, really, compared to the rest of the competition, he hasn't really wrestled a lot of these guys. The main guy that he's wrestled in, he hasn't really wrestled those guys in contention, but he has wrestled Jared Verclaren out of this competition. He's beat him this year 3-1 in sudden victory. That's why I'm kind of holding out hope that Verclaren could do something great next year. But Sammy Sasso has always been the guy to get out on top. Now, Austin O'Connor, although he does have a loss to Lugo at Midlands last year, he had an impressive season other than that, being 25-1. And I'm pumped to see how he does next year. The guy from UNC, and he's kind of in a great position because he gets a couple of those early season victories. Maybe he cranks out a win at Midlands or some other early tournaments. He doesn't really have that Big Ten schedule where he can get a nice seed at nationals. With a couple of these guys, you look at an ACC or a Big 12, that can happen, which is pretty nice. Now, moving on to 157 pounds. At 157, you have a great race between Ryan Deacon, Hayden Hidley, David Carr. You had it last year. You have it again this year. My pick is Hayden Hidley. He was my pick last year, even though Ryan Deacon had the better year. There's no denying that Ryan Deacon had the better year. Although Hidley was 28-1, Deacon was 21-0. So, he did have an impressive season. Now, Hidley was the ACC champion coming out of last year's season. Had wins over Kendall Coleman, Kennedy Monday, as well as Wyatt Sheets. What a great season. Now, he does have that loss to Ryan Deacon in his schedule, but coming into his senior year, he's going to be ready to get it. He didn't have his chance this year. He's a two-time All-American. How is he going to do at Nationals next year? My prediction is he wins it, but who are his contenders? Like I said, Ryan Deacon, the Cliff Keen Las Vegas champ, the Big Ten champion, has also impressive wins. One of his other impressive wins over David Carr. He has that win over Hidley. So some people may say I'm underestimating Deacon. Maybe I am, maybe I'm not. But David Carr is another tough guy coming into his sophomore season, national qualifier last year, and was 18-1 with his lone loss coming to Ryan Deacon. Wish we could have seen Hidley and David Carr wrestle. Now, David Carr is the Big 12 champ coming out of last season, but you also have an EIWA champ in Josh Humphreys coming back into his junior year, had a round of 12 finish at Nationals in the past, but is looking to do better this season, and I think him as well as Caleb Young are great contenders. Now, you also have Kendall Coleman coming from Purdue, Brady Berge coming back from Penn State, as well as Quincy Monday from Princeton. And I know all of you ASU fans are going to say Ja'Cory Teamer has a shot at 157. And yeah, all of these guys, it's going to be exciting to see how they do at nationals. Now, moving on to 165 pounds, it's going to be interesting to see how does Mekhi Lewis do against Alex Marinelli. So if you're interested to see what my predictions are for that, make sure you check out part 2 of this video right here. It's coming out right now. You don't want to miss it.